I'm Tamara Thomas, editor-in-chief of UrbanHealthToday.com, part of the DocWire family of medical news sites, and I want to thank you for tuning in to Urban Health Weekly. Our goal each week is to keep you informed of the latest in health and medical news right from today's headlines. It's time to empower yourself with open conversations about your medical care with news that matters to you. So are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, I'm Tamara Thomas, and welcome to Urban Health Weekly, where we talk about medical news and health topics that matter to you. I'm here with Jackie and Lou. How are you guys?
Hey, good. How are you guys doing?
I'm okay. How about you, Lou?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. We got so much news today that I'm just
I know
loaded with
we
news.
have to talk about this baby formula shortage thing. I know it's on everyone's minds, and there's not a lot of reliable information out there necessarily. So we're going to get into that in a second. But I have to tell you first about
Yes.
what happened. So, I was supposed to have the biopsies.
Yes.
Okay. So long story short, I did not have either of the biopsies. So what happened? Yeah, neither of them. So I was supposed to have two. I was supposed to have an MRI one, and then I was supposed to have an ultrasound one, both on the same booby. Well, what happened was I'd been talking back and forth with the radiologist. Now, she is not the radiologist that was actually going to be performing the procedures, the biopsy. I didn't know that, but she's the one that called me back.
Oh,
And she's the one that's been coordinating this with the pharmacy and the whole email thread with doctors and all this other stuff. So the radiologist who's actually going to be performing the procedures, she calls me. Well, first of all, get this. I'm in the store. She didn't call me herself directly. She had somebody call me. And
okay.
somebody, wanted to talk to me because I'm sensitive to lidocaine. So that was another issue that we had talked about.
Okay.
Together. So they wanted, they were trying to figure out how to blunt the effects of the lidocaine for me. Since, I definitely have a sensitivity, swelling and all that other stuff.
Okay.
So she wanted to talk to me. I'm in the store with a mask on. I've got the grocery basket and the in one hand, and I've literally got groceries in my other hand. And I picked up the phone because I saw it was the hospital center. She wanted to talk to me right then and there. I said, well, can you call me back in 15 minutes because I'm in the supermarket? So she's like, well, no, I can't really. I've got stuff to do. And I said, well, wait a minute. I'm literally in a supermarket. My hands are full. I'm suffocating with this mask on. I can't talk to you right this second. You guys have had weeks to call me about this. You call me now. You can't call me back in 15 minutes? Well, no. So then, in that case, I'll just call you tomorrow. Tomorrow's a procedure. So it's too late to talk then. So I call back when I get to the car and I get the doctor. And she explains to me that she doesn't feel comfortable doing both of them in light of my lidocaine sensitivity. She doesn't feel comfortable giving me that much lidocaine in the same day. So she canceled one of them. Okay, fine. I had already pre-registered for it, but okay, fine. I didn't pay because I learned my lesson from a previous experience with them of paying in advance, paying the copay. So I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
So now I get there in the morning. I took the Benadryl and all this other stuff because she recommended. The plan was I'll take a Benadryl to blunt the effects of the lidocaine so that I can do the procedure without having like a huge amount of swelling, yada, yada. Okay, so then she wants to, remember I said that I don't want to do the clip?
Yes.
So.
And you put a lot of thought and research into not doing a clip.
So she does this entire presentation for why she believes that I should do a clip. She's like, well, I want you to make an informed decision. I said, well, I think I am, but please proceed. So she gets into this whole thing about why she feels that I should do a clip. And basically she has this whole long explanation that they may never, if it's cancer, they may never find it again. And this whole, so I said, well, A, you don't know what's going to happen to me. It may not be in the right position after you put it in.
Right.
You don't know if I'm going to bleed. You don't know what's going to happen once I leave here. You don't, so it may not necessarily be in the same position. I don't want to have this thing inside of me forever. I mean, everything I explained to her, she was like, well, yeah, it's a valid point, but, and I said, so you mean to tell me that she's saying basically that the surgeon would have to take a little more tissue without the clip there than with the clip there. So I said, look, if I have cancer, that's like the least of my problems.
Okay.
Takes the extra tissue. Like, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. Yes.
I'm not worried about aesthetics at that point. I'm worried about living.
Right.
So then she's, so that's the point that she's making, that she doesn't have confidence that without the clip that they'd be able to find the cancer again. Because essentially what's happening is they're talking about something that's like a half a centimeter.
Okay.
It's like 5 millimeters. And the core needle
Okay.
is bigger than what they'd be biopsying. So I understand that as a possibility she may suck it out. Okay, so that happens. Okay, so then I still don't need a clip. It still is not medically beneficial to me to have this clip. So she's explaining to me, well, the surgeon needs it as guidance. If it's not in the same position, he's still flying blind. So that doesn't really, make this sound necessary to me. So anyway, finally, after we're going back and forth, one thing she did correct me on, it's not that the clip disappears after 12 to 18 months, the gel coating on it disappears. So now that's another issue. And I have a history of alloy allergies. I don't know what's going to happen in a year or two if I have this thing in me. There are cases of women having allergic reaction to these things. I don't want it in me, period. So then she calls my breast onc. My breast onc tells her, I can't make her do it, and neither can you. And so she finally says, well, look, I have to live with myself, and I'm just not going to do this procedure. I'm not going to do it if you don't want the clip.
Wow.
So I basically said, okay, well, so you basically just described to me why I should not have confidence in your ability to take.
Oh, did you say that?
Yes, I did. And she took
Ooh.
issue to that. And I said, look, you're the one telling me that you don't have confidence without this clip. They've been doing clips for maybe, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. This is, women have been having cancer for decades. Okay.
Right.
So you mean to tell me, and I kept asking her, I'm like, you mean to tell me with all the measuring and all the notes and all of this information that if it was cancer, if a surgeon just would not be able to find anything, there's no plan for that. So look, bottom line is she decided she didn't want to do it. So she wasted my time. And I made it very clear to her. I said, look, I'm here to do this biopsy. I'm taking a lot of risks here because the core needle could, make a mess in there. And if it's a cancer, it can spread it around. So I'm taking all kinds of risks, but I'm willing to go forward with this. I just don't want the clip. Anyway, she said, well, I have to be able to live with myself, and I don't feel that I'm putting you in danger because I'm not sure that this is a cancer. She said, I've seen enough of these that I can look at them and right away and tell that's a cancer. And with yours, I can't tell.
Okay, so it isn't a case where she's like, I'm pretty sure. I mean, she wouldn't be able to say it's not, but she's just saying she can't tell. So
Right.
she feels,
she can't say with certainty that it is cancer. And she historically is saying that if it is a cancer, she's usually able to say with certainty that's a cancer. But with mine,
is this a fear of malpractice issue? Is this like a legal issue that she's afraid of?
I don't know. I think she's just used to doing it a certain way. I also think that she hasn't had people tell her no in her life. And I think she did. I mean, that's what I think. I think she's just, had a very lucky life where she's gotten a lot of yeses.
Yes.
And I think that she thought telling me that if I didn't do the clip that she wouldn't do it would push me, since I'm sitting there in my gown, to say like, okay, I'll do it.
So this is like, is this something they teach in like medical school to like convince the patient, or like the whole process of the doubtful patient? Is that what's going on? Like,
no, have you had that experience with a doctor telling you?
I did when I was in the surgical bay, and I the doctor came in, and I was supposed to get a hysterectomy and the fallopian tubes. And he said, I really want to take the ovaries. I just had a patient that came out of surgery, and she had endometrial cancer. And then we did that surgery. And then when we came back a few years later, she's back, and now she has ovarian. And I was already sedated in the bay waiting for surgery. And I felt like this pressure of life or death as I'm waiting to go in. And so I just felt like, you know,
Yeah.
and I even said to him, don't you think we can biopsy the ovary instead? He goes, well, that's a thought. And then
No, it'd be more convenient for me if I can just take
and I think also he was like, but if we don't biopsy the right, it was probably convenient. And I was so vulnerable at that point. And I just felt like,
yeah.
he was just like, come on, like you're interrupting this is what's best. And,
Yeah.
he's coming from it's not a quality of life issue as far as he's concerned. It's about like, look, we're going to prevent this cancer. What's wrong with you? Like it's not. So,
as if God, so obvious.
right. But also he did this while I'm in the surgical bay and sedated. Like, what the fuck is that?
And that what annoyed me is that all the calls and all, she could have contacted me this entire time. We could have had this discussion over the phone. I didn't have to come in. And then the work.
No, that's like the 11th hour. That's what I'm feeling. Like, this is
I'm
bogus.
literally in the room in my gown with everything set up. I'm signing papers and everything. And
yeah, they it's like an ambush of sorts.
It is kind of an ambush when you think about it.
Oh.
And I said to her, I said, look, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, I'm not, that's how you feel. I'm here to get this done. I'm here. I'm doing my part to get this done. I want this done. I just don't want the clip. But because I wanted to make it very clear, I don't want her in front of the rad assistant. I didn't want her to try to say, oh, patient doesn't want it. No. Patient wants it. Patient just doesn't want clip. So she made her decision. And she's going to have to explain that in her notes at some point. And I almost said to her, I want you to put it in writing that I want this done, that you didn't want to do it because I didn't want the clip. I was standing there face to face with her at one point. I'm taller than her. I'm Black. I don't want to be standing over this little white woman pointing my finger like, I want this in the notes.
Did you tap her chest with your finger and then?
No. But we were alone in the room at the time when that happened. So I didn't want to do that because I didn't want her to try.
Oh no, like she must be like, holy crap, look at that. I wonder if your file is flagged. If like they've been like, look out for this patient.
That's a good. They'll probably never admit that to me.
I don't think they can put that in writing, but I could just see that, like, wow.
I had made a joke after she said she spoke to my the lead doctor, my breast on, and she's like, oh, I spoke to her, and I said, let me guess. She said, that's Tamara for you, but.
Okay, yeah. So you lightened the mood a little bit.
Yeah, and she said, no, that's not what she said. She said that I can't make her do it, and neither can you. So look, to me, if she doesn't want to do it, if she doesn't feel comfortable doing it,
right?
He's not the person for me. Right. And then she was trying to make it sound as if no radiologist in their right mind would do it, as if like the buck stops with her and she's like my last hope for civilization. I don't know. But I just feel like if she has such lack of confidence in her skills as a radiologist to see me to completion. So then she switched course and she says, okay, well, so our other options are more surveillance.
Okay. So she was like, I'm going to be mentally flexible. Here we go. More surveillance.
Okay. Right. So that's when she starts coming up with all these other plans and stuff like that. So anyway, so now back to the drawing board. Where I talk to my breast oncologist next week and figure out. But as far as imaging, I'm not going to use them again.
Wow. Is there any chance that somebody else is going to biopsy without clips?
Well, she recommended, yes,
She did recommend. Okay.
she recommended that I go to another location.
Okay.
And she hinted that they might be more amenable, but she can't say that outright, but she
Right.
hinted that they might be more amenable. It's another, of their locations, and it's not as far out. But I don't know. I gotta see. I gotta talk to the doctor, and I gotta see where I go from here.
Wow. Well, there goes that day.
Exactly.
Wow.
No.
And however many weeks before you get anything done. Okay.
Right. Exactly. So that was part 3 of like 4 parts, because I feel like the final part will be they do the biopsy and then they tell me yay or nay. Right.
Okay.
This is like
Wow.
third act. Act 3
Wow.
of the series. I'm kidding.
Wow.
Of Tamara gets a biopsy.
Oh yeah. Part 2.
I swear to God. No, part 3.
Part 3.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I just had to get that out. Lou, you're very
Wow.
quiet. What's going on here?
Oh, I don't really have a lot to add. If you're gonna look at a silver lining in any story, which this one has very few silver linings, I would say that maybe
A
now,
brass lining, maybe?
yeah, some sort of.
Mhm.
It's worth a lot of money these days. What I would say is that if anything, it's easier now for you to justify to insurance that you can do enhanced screening.
Ooh.
That's what your doctors are calling for.
Oh, and then she tried to mammogram shame me.
Oh.
I don't do mammograms, and I had to stop her in her tracks. And I said, look, my mother did mammograms religiously every year, and she still ended up dying of metastatic breast cancer. I won't do
Wow.
mammograms because I don't want my breast injured and irradiated. And then I got into, our friend who had the radiation that basically accelerated her cancer. It went from
Yeah.
yearly to every 6 months to every 3 months to now we've got to stop because her cancer responds to radiation. So we can't get
Oh
radiation.
gosh.
Like stop acting as if I get from your perspective it makes your job easier.
It makes it more efficient. You've
make-
upset the schedule for the day.
It doesn't make my life easier.
Right. You're fighting for
I'm
your quality of life and your medical care.
Yeah, exactly.
What's best for the patient.
And MRI sees everything. It may not be your preferred mode, but it's what I prefer because I don't want radiation, period. I refuse it. I'm just not going to do it to my breast tissue. I'm just not going to do it.
All right.
Not with my history. The risks don't outweigh the benefits. Not for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was an educated choice that you've made.
Yeah.
Tons of research and peer review studies, et cetera, et cetera.
And I've discussed with my doctor, and my doctor is absolutely comfortable with that decision.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a very good point that you made, Lou, about the insurance justifying to the insurance.
Unfortunately, it all comes down to that is the justification.
So true.
The justification to the insurance that you can actually do something and the whole pathway towards that.
Yeah, I guess it's which would they rather pay for? Would they rather pay for what do you think is more expensive, the MRI or the biopsy?
Ooh.
Well, it's rad assisted, by the way. So one would have been an MRI assisted biopsy, and the other one is ultrasound assisted biopsy. So it's not just the biopsy.
Yeah.
It's
I'm going to give you an answer to that. What they don't want to pay for is any end of life stuff. Those final 2 years, if this stuff ever if this stuff was undiagnosed and it would get to a stage 3 or a stage 4, that's not where they want to go.
Right.
Because 80 to 90% of all healthcare costs are in that last stage of life. The last 2 years.
Where people are trying to buy more years.
Where people are trying to buy, we're talking about months and stuff like that, doing all sorts of experimental stuff, doing 17 treatments at once. That's what they want to avoid. So it's in their best interest to do as much stuff up front Not that it's going to prevent the cancer,
Right.
but at least if it's caught early enough,
Hmm.
it doesn't get into that EOL or end of life
Right.
type of scenario.
Oh, okay.
So insurance wants to avoid that at all costs because you
Ah.
know it's not good for them in
Mm.
terms of what those costs are. So one more MRI or one more difference in a mammogram and an MRI is inconsequential.
Mhm.
That
Ah.
that said, in the little nerd manual,
Mhm.
um, it does show up as that. Tell them no, and let's see what happens. As in that famous John Grisham movie, Rainmaker.
But I don't think in New York they can say no. I think in New York
Ooh.
If the physician says it,
they have to pay for it.
they got to pay
can't.
for it.
Yeah.
And because
Ooh.
the physician said it,
Yeah.
now that's not the main physician. So of course you got to get your main physician
Right.
to
Which
do
I'm
it.
going to talk to her.
But if your
Yeah.
main physician says, let's do it and let's go on a 3-month regimen, guess what? What the physician says overrules
Yeah.
what the protocols
Yeah,
are.
and
what
that's New
the-
York
what the
state
numbers
law.
are. And
Oh, I don't think that's New Jersey. I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so. Well, maybe for breast cancer, maybe.
Yeah. I think for certain conditions, especially
Yeah.
that if the doctor says so, it has to be like there's no room for negotiation here.
That might be for certain things. Okay.
Yeah, so for example, the insurance will say, well, we'll pay for 1 mammogram a year. But if your doctor, and I'm using mammogram now, if your
Mhm.
doctor says, I'd like an extra one,
Mhm.
and prescribes it, and it's an oncologist,
Mhm.
they have to pay for that.
Mm.
Ah.
Is a nationwide type of, patients' right type of thing, I think.
Is it?
For
Okay.
the most part,
For breast cancer
yes, but
or for oncologists across the board?
yeah, also the answer is that different insurance, there are laws, but at the end of the day, there's also practices for insurance companies.
Uh-huh.
So most reputable companies will pay for it.
Uh-huh.
But again, I don't want to do any blanket statements
Right.
because we do have 50 states.
Yeah.
And within each 50 states, there's 10 to 15 major insurance plans
Right.
that are all different. So we really have 750
Mhm.
different scenarios to answer the same question.
Okay, Mr. Actuary.
No, I just did the
Oh, this is so helpful because I find the insurance industry a mystery.
Yeah, this is good.
right,
Good
because
stuff
the regulations for each state is different. So that's 50.
Okay.
Now you got 10 major insurance companies to 15. So I use the 15 number.
Mhm.
So if we're going to use 15
Mhm.
times 50,
Mhm.
that means there's 750 different scenarios,
Okay.
Oh,
condition.
Got
So
it.
me to say, yeah, it's going to get paid.
I know for a fact though that in New York State
You could
they
be in
have
the-
to pay.
You could be in Nebraska right now and covered by Aetna, and that answer is completely different if
Mhm.
you're in
wow.
Aetna right now
Right.
and you're covered by somebody else. It's not
Right.
by MetLife.
Right.
So, and the ACA is different, and then Medicare is different, and which version of Medicare you chose is
Mhm.
different.
Yes.
Mhm.
Blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah.
But yeah, so that's kind of where it is now. It's okay, well, what other options, are we looking at? Because I'm not going to do this. Well, I'm not going to go back to her. I don't think she meant me any harm, but I don't like playing.
You both took a stand. Right.
Well, I don't like playing a game of chicken with the physician.
Right. Oh my gosh. That was a game
now
of
when
chicken.
my health is on the line. See, so that doesn't give me confidence to move forward with a provider like that. Again, I don't think she had any ill intention. I think she just, she decided this was the hill she wanted to die on, and I let her.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Urban Health Weekly today. I hope you'll join me and my friends next week so you can stay informed and inspired to take control of your health. See you next time.